Welcome to Aging Insights. I'm Grace Egan, Executive Director of the New Jersey Foundation for Aging. Our mission is to promote programs and policies that enable seniors to live with independence and dignity in their communities. Today we're going to talk about artistic outlets in your community for seniors. I have in the studio with me Tricia Fagan from Mercer County and Catherine Macchi from Hudson County. I know you both have a lot to share, so I just thought we would jump in and start talking about the Senior Citizen Art Show and about what's happening in counties. So let's begin.
Thanks, Grace.
Thank you. It's very nice that you're both here. Before we get into the state show, Tricia, have you been working in arts a long time?
I have actually. I ran the art gallery at Mercer County's Community College for 14 years, but I had also run artworks down in Trenton and worked for the State Arts Council for some time. Okay,
and so now you're a program development specialist with the Mercer County Division of Cultural and Heritage.
Correct.
That's great. Well, and so how long have you been working with the State Senior Citizen Art Show?
We've been working as a partner with the State Arts Council on this show for 3 years, but have been working with Union County, who had been running it as a partner with the state for some time, since they were at Meadow Lakes.
Now this is the 2016 was the 50th anniversary?
50th anniversary of the show.
Wow, so how did the show get started, do you know?
The show was started as a program while the Office on Aging was, is it still in DCA, the Department of Community Affairs?
Well, it was in the Department of Community Affairs, and then it went to the Department of Health and Senior Services, and now actually the State Unit on Aging is within the Department of Human Services. Probably not terribly important. I think the basic bones of it have stayed the same because it is the State Unit on Aging, and it's a federal designation, as are all the county offices on aging, actually. So, so tell us a little bit about the state show.
The state show is amazing, and we were very thrilled this year to have all 21 counties participating. When we inherited it 3 years ago, there were 17 counties, and we were quite convinced it was important to have all 21 this year. It's a really amazing show. Each county, and Kathy represents Hudson County, but each county hosts their own show, their art show, and the first place winners in various categories, which we can go over, and in both professional and non-professional categories, come on to the state show. So this year we had 264 pieces of artwork.
That's amazing.
Displayed for about 6 weeks at Meadow Lakes in East Windsor.
Right. I think it's a lovely place and to display the work.
Terrific place.
So tell us about the categories.
The categories, to remember them, I kind of put them into little subcategories. So in traditional painting categories, we've got watercolor, oils, acrylics, pastel. We have other works on paper, which are drawing, print, digital, and I know I'm forgetting one,
Crafts?
photography.
Oh, okay.
And then the categories where almost anything goes are mixed media, craft, and sculpture.
So a collage would be mixed media?
Generally, a collage would be mixed media, although occasionally people will do a photographic collage and might want to put it in digital art.
Oh, not photography?
Not necessarily photography.
Oh. And so is digital one of the changes you've seen in recent years?
Digital is a change. I think that came in about 9 years ago because there was a request for it. We get requests all the time, and a lot of times it's whether you can accommodate the additional volume of work that would be coming in. One category, for example, that we have been looking at is fiber art, to break it out of craft, but then we would have to break ceramics out, and then we would have to break woodworking out. And we have quite a few people in each of those categories, and not the space at this time.
Right, I was going to say. So I would imagine that crafts then includes quilting, macrame, pottery, as you've said. So yes, it could woodworking.
Sewing, woodworking, wonderful woodworking, really terrific raku, a lot of stained glass. There have been some spectacular stained glass.
So you have professional artists and what I was referring to as amateurs, but you refer to them as non-professionals.
Yeah, and that category, it's a little bit confusing. People think of a professional artist as somebody who's been doing it as a living for
Right.
their life, or
Making a
are
living.
displayed in
okay.
museums all the time. And in reality, we're saying if you've been an artist that's been exhibiting for 5 years, you belong to a number of art collectives,
Art guilds,
you sell at local shows, you've been winning prizes, there's a certain point you have to own the fact that you're more a professional than a non-professional. Non-professional are people who have just started, or there's a number of people who only enter this show, the senior art show, and they're not showing anywhere else. It's just they'll work during the year, perhaps give gifts to their family members, and then enter this one show.
So I think it sounds like you have such a variety. I mean, is there a division between professional and non-professional? I mean,
No division. You walk through the hallways and you see the work
Right.
displayed, and we'll display them side by side. So you look at the watercolor by professional, watercolor by non-professional. I would challenge anybody to tell you the difference.
so of the 200, what did you say you had?
264 this year.
264. So of that, it's a combination of both
Correct.
categories. Well, I think that's very exciting. I think so it's only the first place winners
Only the first place winners
from the county
from the counties.
that come to you.
So there's one mad day in September when all the county coordinators bring their artwork. And each county could have up to 22 pieces. It runs by county.
So why? Oh, 22 categories.
11 categories, professional, non-professional.
Okay, I see.
But a lot of counties don't have the capability of displaying three-dimensional work, for example. So sculpture may only come from half of the counties. Certain counties, there are certain counties that always have spectacular pastels and oils, and other counties that have spectacular prints. So one year we had considered taking print out and kind of merging it with works on paper, but there were a number of counties that had such strong print people that they had to reinstate it.
And
It's
print, so would print be silk screening?
silk screening, lithograph, etching, linoleum, wood print. I mean, within each category there's a lot.
And okay, so that's kind of interesting because I didn't necessarily think of that when you were giving us the category list before. So is that in medium? Is that in what categories?
Those are, well, so print is its own category.
Oh, okay.
But even in works on paper, for example, you think of that
okay.
as graphite or ink and pen and ink, but it's also charcoal,
Right.
And it's also painted ink.
Oh,
There's
okay.
a number of people
Sure.
that use their own quills. There's a gentleman from Camden, Ricardo Vigian, who does this fascinating ink drawing, but it looks like a painting. It's always confusing to the jurors.
I know this is a lot of detail, but it seems to me that if somebody is, one of our viewers is looking at home, it gives them a sense of, well, what talent they might have and how they could maybe become involved.
It's a
So-
wonderful thing because people think of art as painting or
exactly.
sculpture. And in reality, you come to this show and you get energized by what other artists are doing. That's one of the fun things with the closing reception, because so many of the artists will come out and look at what other people are doing and get ideas for the next year.
So you mentioned Meadow Lake, so let's talk about, as you said, the art is all brought there, and you display it there. So why don't you describe how it's displayed and how you actually, get all the workers there to do that for you? And you said 6 weeks, so let's, tell us about it.
The big challenge is we hang it in one day.
That is a lot. 264 pieces.
So the work comes in on Monday, on Tuesday, and you ask if we have volunteers. We have terrific volunteers. A lot of people
Great.
from the county when it comes to installing, but also Meadow Lakes, their art committee, and the residents are terrific. They will sign up for the various days, and they'll help us bring the work out. They put it out
That's
in
nice.
category. And we hang the work in category, but with just numbers, so that so the jurors who come on Wednesday, we have a
Judges.
panel, 3 judges will come in, and they don't know who did the artwork.
Sure.
They only see the numbers, and that's how they jury it. And one of the wonderful things about Meadow Lakes is that they had a number of sponsors through the Spring Point Foundation who actually put up track lighting through the years, who put up a display
Case?
molding.
Oh, molding, okay.
Just the molding. And then they have a great hallway, their history hallway. And that's where we display the 3D stuff.
And how do you identify who's going to be a juror, a judge for the show?
We try to invite artists, art professionals, so they might be reviewers or critics. They might be curators in galleries or in museums. And we'll invite 3, and we try to make sure that there's a good representation of people who like figurative work and people who like a little different work, as well as somebody who knows about photography, somebody who knows about painting. So we try to have those covered. We had 3 every year we have 3 great people. This year, for the first time, we had the jurors stay after the official awards program, and they went through the award winners and spoke about each piece, and that was very popular.
So you've already touched a little bit on the closing ceremony, but before we get there, so the show it's hung for 6 weeks, so it's open to the public, is that right?
Yes, it is.
And besides the residents, I imagine that it's kind of exciting for people to walk through and see the display.
The residents love it. They're very sad when it comes down, but groups of people will come in from around the state. A lot of senior centers will bring buses, groups of people coming in to look at it. And it's open Mondays through Saturdays, 10 to 4.
Oh, that's nice.
Meadow Lakes is a wonderful, wonderful, very hospitable host, and we really appreciate all the help we get from them and from both the staff and the residents.
It is a lovely setting, and the show is very easy to see the beautiful artwork. And, you know, it's funny, as you talk about it, it is incredible artwork. I've been to many of the shows. Yeah, it's a very talented group of people. And so you touched a little bit on the closing ceremony. So it's not just saying, you know, obviously it's been judged for the 6 weeks, so the awards are sort of identified with the paintings. I imagine that the names are now there as well.
Names are there.
So why don't you tell us how the closing reception goes?
The closing reception is a full day of activities starting at 10. People come from around the state. The artists are invited. Technically, it's just the artists invited. You can imagine with 264 exhibiting artists that there is not a lot of space. But again, Meadow Lakes is very supportive. They have a little shuttle bus. They park throughout that complex. And we have artists come in and do demonstrations. We have musicians that are entertaining. And then at 12, the award ceremony starts. So our county executive, Brian Hughes, is there. We have representatives from the State Office on Aging. We have representatives from the State Arts Council, who's our co-sponsor. But they keep it very short. They're very, very respectful.
Right.
And then we hand out the awards.
It can be a long day, so as you say, keep it.
We move it, we keep trying to move it as quickly as possible so people can do what they want to do, which is meet each other, look at the artwork, go to the demos, and then at the end of the ceremony, we've taken all the artwork down within about half an hour. All the artwork is down, again with wonderful volunteers. We have to organize it. The coordinators come in and check it out. And then they can hand it out to their artists who are there, or they bring it back to their county. Yeah,
I know Catherine's going to really talk about the role of the county coordinator, but before we get there, what do the demos focus on?
The demos are with many years in the arts, and I also ask our coordinators for ideas. We try to get a lot of people who are doing either traditional, so we had Steve Kennedy this year doing traditional still life, amazing still life demonstrator. But we had Renee Kumar, who works creatively with watercolor. So she works with collaging handmade or Asian paper with watercolor to do wonderful, wonderful paintings. We've had paper makers come in and do demonstrations on paper making. We've had, and then in the afternoon we try to have demos by people who have been part of the Senior Art Show. So artists that have come in. Last year from Middlesex County, we had a woman who did mixed media, extremely creative. And people were like, where does she get the ideas to do this? Right. So we brought her in. And whenever people ask about a medium, if it's something that can be demonstrated effectively in an hour, we will invite them to participate.
Because it's a short period of time to feel.
It's a short period of time, but it's enough to give people a taste and again an idea for what to do next. The thing I want to emphasize is that people who I work with who may not be in the arts or may not be familiar with the show, they hear Senior Art Show and they think, oh, Senior Art Show.
Isn't that nice?
Isn't that nice? They quilt, they do knitting, which some of them do to great effect. I'm not making fun of any of the fiber arts. The thing is, these are gifted people, vital people, and art keeps you young. Art, expressing yourself in any medium is something that just unblocks and gets you going and gets you re-engaged. I mean, it's a terrific community. So many of these artists work with other artists in their county, and that's how they share the information. Kathy can talk.
I was going to say, is that a segue to Catherine?
I think it is.
Tell us.
I'm just listening. The whole part, as I understand it, as this is being explained, Tricia did so eloquently. It's almost like the Thanksgiving Day parade. It takes a year before, for a few hours. And that's what happens.
Balloons, though.
No balloons. But what happens when the coordinators actually bring the work from the county, it is so totally, completely organized. We're expecting you. Here is your list.
Right.
So what Tricia does is just take what seems an extraordinary amount of work and just around in a storeroom, and the next thing it's displayed and people are walking through, and there's one reaction, wow.
So tell us about the Hudson Show.
All right, now the Hudson Show is very much of what Tricia said applies to us.
Right.
The Hudson Show started, doing the history. It started, I guess, probably about 22 years ago in a woman's home.
Oh, really?
There was a woman who did a little, painting or whatever, and she painted. She worked with some of the seniors, and she said, let's do a gallery type thing. So she brought a few seniors with their work into her home, and it was very nice, very well done. I wasn't even aware that it was going on.
Right.
However, it has evolved into we have between 35 and 50 of our seniors. The work is now displayed in the Hudson County Rotunda.
Which is the old courthouse.
The old courthouse.
Which is beautiful.
Absolutely magnificent. And I tell Tricia all the time that it's a museum. It's an art history museum. The works that is throughout that courthouse cannot be duplicated. So our seniors...
Well, it's because of the murals.
Exactly.
Okay, I just wanted to sort of describe what the art is there.
And these artisans came from Europe, and they have passed away. You can't even get anyone to repair some of the work. So we have, and I'm not saying this just because we came in best in show this year.
Oh, there you go.
So
Again.
I am so delighted when I see the talent that our senior residents in Hudson County have. Not only do they have it, they share it.
Right.
And Tricia also alluded to the fact that they're so happy to see each other's work. I watch that, and I watch the artists themselves when they come to see the work, when they come to our reception. You
also have a reception.
We have a wonderful reception. We set the rotunda up like a little nightclub, little small tables, and it's very artsy. Our seniors deserve that.
Oh, sure.
But
absolutely.
The thing that I feel they deserve is to recognize and be able to share the talents that they have within them, and it's been encouraged, and they have now produced something with that. So they have increased awareness of the talent they have, and they have people who are delighted to share it. So that's the interesting thing about the artists. They're really not in competition with each other.
Right.
They're there to support each other. They recognize the work. They recognize the effort that went into it, and they are delighted. They're not about. I think it's a whole other mindset, and this. And you mentioned human resources. I do the outreach for all of the county, for all of the areas. But in order to do anything, I have to work with all the other, the other organizations that we have. And we have the Hudson County Improvement Authority, and they hand out little large coloring books and crayons with little things about the environment. I said, give me anything you can.
Oh, okay.
I will take them, I'll bring them to the seniors. They'll sit with children, they'll sit with their grandchildren. And in coloring, it's very peaceful, and they just might discover that in coloring, they can paint. You really don't know where you would go with it. So the most wonderful thing, we do encourage everyone. We have people who have never picked up a brush before, and they're in.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Let's talk, because I know you both feel that there's such a growing interest in art that someone who may not have ever done it before. And you told me about a couple in Bayonne.
The Sinkowitzes. Now, the interesting thing is, Tricia will tell you every artist what they do, what their work looks like.
But you know these.
I know, but I know them personally, and it's lots more about them because we're so much closer. But there was a couple in Bayonne, Elsie and Anthony Sinkowitz. They both retired, and he said to Elsie, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm joining a quilting club." And he said, "What will I do?" She said, "You're joining a painting club." That was about.
We know who was in charge in that.
Well, here's what happened. She does the most magnificent work. Elsie
She does.
Unbelievable. He decided, because he was a veteran, he would start with some war conflicts or whatever, in the United States conflicts, military conflicts. He did a show in Bayonne just last month. He recorded. Now, this was just not an art exhibit. This was a history lesson. He, starting with the Revolutionary War all the way to Iraq,
Really?
had about literally probably 25 pieces of art. Not just the art, a little history lesson, the essay. They had the school children come in. This was phenomenal, and this was because his wife said, "You are going to paint."
And he never painted
Never
before.
painted. We have a gentleman whose wife died, Jerry Glover. Okay.
Jerry.
Jerry does nothing but faces.
Really?
African American faces.
And he has his own unique style.
You
He
can't
really-
imagine. And when we bring the work, she'll say, Jerry Glover.
Oh, 'cause you know.
The work is,
beautiful.
he gets the faces, he gets right into the personality. And that's what some of the art does. It's just not one-dimensional.
Right.
You see, there's a story there, and the story
You have to
comes
talk
right
about
out.
Jim.
Jim?
Yes.
Okay, now we have Jim. Jim is, again, Hudson County it's just a small town. A woman from Jersey City called and said, "I met a man from Hoboken who's involved in paint. Give me his name, I'll find him, tell me where he is." He entered a print, I guess it's categorized as a print. I can't identify it. I say, "Oh my God, that's marvelous. Tricia, what is it?" And she'll slide it into the category.
Okay.
He works with the veterans, and the topic or the group is Paint Through Your Pain.
Oh, okay,
So
sure.
this is the other thing about art. It's therapeutic.
Right,
It's
it is therapeutic.
So the artists, they literally sit and they take what they remember, as horrible as some of those experiences might be, and they transform it into something positive.
Right.
And what he did was he took his experiences of a Vietnam orphanage, and however magnificently, wondrously, he translated it
It's amazing.
into this work that it was. And I said to Trish, "I'm going to bring down something," because I call her all the time, of course, as you can see, because it's her head. It's her head in my. But I said, but in order to appreciate it, I have to bring down the narrative that goes with
sure.
it. So it explains it.
Oh, that's interesting.
And there it was.
He's part of the. It was part of the Combat Papers project, which is done through the New Jersey printmakers. I believe they had a little press they brought around, but they actually can take a piece of their clothing that they wore in a war
Oh, really?
and turn it into the paper.
Wow.
And then they do prints on it. And his print
How wonderful.
across the board, every juror was just like, I mean,
Yeah.
they knew.
So we're very fortunate, as you said, Tricia, that all 21 counties participated last year. And so I'm sure that Catherine's love and enthusiasm is shared by the other 21 art coordinators in the other counties.
The coordinators are the unsung heroes. I mean, because they make the county shows happen, and then they are my contact to make sure the art gets delivered, the art is handled respectfully, the art gets back to the artists, and that the artists, they communicate with the artists and make them know.
And most of the shows are done in the spring or the summer?
They start generally around April, and they might run as late as opening in August and going into early September.
And so the basic rules are?
Basic rules, you have to be age 60 or older, and be working in any of the medias that we...
Any of the categories?
Any category. And the thing is, if you're doing something that you didn't hear, it's still a category, I'm sure. Just contact your Office on Aging and find out who's coordinating. It may be a 2-day show in your county. It may be a month-long show, but it's equally valid and it's equally important.
And it's judged.
And it's all judged.
And I think you told me the work had to be done within the past
3 years.
3 years. So I think that it's a wonderful outlet, and even for the people who perhaps have never picked up a paintbrush, a pen, a sewing needle or whatever, there's an awful lot there.
There's great opportunities in your county to take a watercolor class or to take a quilting class, and then enter that piece. It doesn't cost you anything usually, and you are usually, if you enter, it's in.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not judged to get in.
Every piece of work is displayed, but we don't really, in Hudson County, have paid art instructors.
Right.
But I think the most wonderful example of the artistic community is they will meet in different areas, and they teach each other. They encourage each other, and that, I think, is the whole purpose of the art show itself. Your talent doesn't just stop because you're 60. There's something inside you that you need to discover. The message, I feel, is you will find something, you will share it, you will be appreciated for it, and most of all, you'll appreciate yourself.
Well, I think that is just a perfect closing. So I just want to say thank you both for sharing it. I hope we've inspired some of our viewers today to call their county offices on aging and find out when the next show is. So again, I would like to thank you both for sharing your time with us, and it's such a warm opportunity for people to, I think about what they want to do in the spring during these winter months. So Aging Insights is produced by the New Jersey Foundation for Aging, and to give us feedback on this show or to sponsor future Aging Insights programs, please go to our website at www.njfoundationforaging.org or call our office at 609-421-0206. We want to remind you to find out about senior services or about the details of your county art show. Please contact your county office on aging. You will see their listing of their numbers on our website, or you may call the state hotline number, which is 1-877-222-3737. Thank you for watching this episode of Aging Insights, and remember, aging is everyone's business.